The time by Sagicor is
7 p.m.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, so be it. Former Prime Minister Bruce Golding prepared to give up his U.S. visa for speaking out on US-Venezuela tensions. A glimmer of hope, though, as U.S. and Venezuela to begin diplomatic discussions. Out of order, opposition slams government for ignoring elected officials. In the business report, the power of the patty. Golden Crust's bold expansion plans, while traditional flavor sips on soup. And later in sports, striking the balance. Excelsior High coach says Olivia Shield victory shows academics and sport can coexist. Hello from Kingston, Jamaica. This is CVM News at 7. It's Friday, January 9, 2026. I'm Curlin Brown. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, up first this evening, so be it. The declaration from former Prime Minister Bruce Golding, who says he's bracing for the possible revocation of his U.S. visa after publicly condemning U.S. President Donald Trump over the escalating tensions between Washington and Venezuela. In a special interview with CVM News on Thursday, Mr. Golding said silence was not an option, even if speaking out comes at a personal cost. He argues the stakes of the conflict are too high, not just for Venezuela, but for the wider Caribbean.
No leader feels free to speak out because Trump's ability to apply punishment, whether through tariffs, through access restrictions, has left every country in shivers. And I'm in a position, as a former head of government, I'm in a position where I can say what I have said. The Prime Minister can't say that. No Prime Minister in CARICOM can say that. Because the retribution that would have been unleashed on them would have been instantaneous. The only retribution that can be unleashed on me is to revoke my U.S. visa. And if that is the case, well, so be it. Yeah. But I believe that there are some things that have to be said, and they have to be said by persons who are in a position where they can say that. I am in that position. CARICOM Prime Ministers are not.
Meanwhile, Mr. Golding is firing back at the opposition People's National Party following its call for the government to stand up for and unequivocally support long-standing principles of international law after the U.S. arrested the Venezuelan president. The former Prime Minister insists if the PNP were in government, its position would be no different from that of the Holness-led administration.
Well, the PNP is not in government, and therefore they are not subject to the constraints that I think face all CARICOM countries, but the PNP is also mindful of the risks of offending the United States. So it's one thing to tease the government and to pressure the government, but I believe that the opposition understands that if they were in power, they could not take a different position, because the consequences would be too severe.
And to the CVM News follow-up now, after years of tension and closed doors, The Venezuelan government on Friday announced it has begun an exploratory process to re-establish diplomatic ties with the United States following the arrest and charge of President Nicolas Maduro. The process will include an exchange of diplomatic officials, signaling a possible thaw in long-frozen relations.
A rare diplomatic opening tonight between Venezuela and the United States. Venezuela has decided to initiate an exploratory diplomatic process with Washington, even as it accuses the Trump administration of serious violations of international law. In a communique issued Friday, the Venezuelan government said the move follows what it describes as a criminal and illegal act of aggression against its territory and people. Venezuela said the incident resulted in the deaths of more than 100 civilians and members of the military and the alleged kidnapping of its president and first lady. Now, as part of the proposed diplomatic reset, a delegation from the U.S. State Department has been sent to the capital of Venezuela to conduct technical and logistical assessments, while Venezuelan diplomats will travel to the U.S. to do the same. Acting President Delcy Rodriguez says Venezuela intends to confront the situation through diplomacy, insisting that what the government calls Bolivarian peace diplomacy remains its preferred path to defending sovereignty and restoring international law. Now, earlier on Friday, the U.S. government confirmed it had sent a delegation to explore the feasibility of reopening its embassy. Christoph Simpson is chairman of the Left Alliance for National Democracy and Socialism lands.
This is going to be a significant change, but each country has different expectations about the path forward for relations. Right now, the U.S. is making certain demands of Venezuela and pressuring them to move their both foreign and domestic policy in a certain direction, and Venezuela has remained defiant, even in the same release that came out today. Venezuela has always been open for diplomacy with the U.S.
As it relates to the U.S.'s expectations,
there's a running joke that when you have a U.S. embassy in your country, you're vulnerable to being overthrown, as in the type of activity the U.S. would want to carry out in Venezuela. What exactly are they doing there that they, how do I say it? Are they there, going back to the same talk of different expectations, are they there genuinely for bilateral ties like Venezuela wants, or are they there with an expectation that they'll be able to dictate the government?
Mr. Simpson is warning that this diplomatic process doesn't mean CARICOM is out of the woods.
The U.S. has made it clear that even though it is re-establishing ties with Venezuela, it will be maintaining this military posturing in the Caribbean. And the U.S. has been threatening Mexico even after seeming to want to de-escalate with Venezuela. What they did to Venezuela might very well be a demonstration of what happens to you when you don't stay in line. So it's a part of an intimidation tactic. So it's not Caribbean leaders relax, it's Caribbean leaders mess up and this is what is going to happen to you.
Amoy Harriet, CVM News.
Locally now, the opposition is slamming the government over its continued use of former members of parliament in official government activities, saying the practice undermines Jamaica's democratic process. The People's National Party claims individuals rejected by voters are being allowed to take part in duties reserved for elected MPs. Carla Ramdeen reports.
The opposition is raising concerns over what it says is a growing pattern by the government that undermines Jamaica's democratic process. The People's National Party, PNP, claims that individuals rejected by voters in the September 3, 2025 general election are being allowed to participate in activities that should only be carried out by elected members of parliament. The PNP chairman, Philip Paulwell, says it is a breach of government policy.
The policy states that a member of parliament must be duly apprised, notified, aware, and be involved in all government-sponsored activities, government projects, visits, etc.
In a release, the party cited a January 9, 2026 incident when former Member of Parliament Michelle Charles, now a private citizen, took part in an official tour of the Princess Margaret Hospital in St. Thomas alongside State Minister Crystal Lee. The duly elected Member of Parliament for Eastern St. Thomas, Rose Shaw, was neither informed of nor invited to the visit. Mr. Paulwell says the opposition is disappointed with the government's decision.
The established protocol is that these things should not happen without the elected representative being present. And so it's a glaring breach of that protocol and really is a slap in the face of our democracy when an elected representative is not being shown the respect that ought to be shown to her.
The opposition says this is part of a broader pattern of similar incidents, raising concerns about the government's respect of democratic norms and accountability.
We are seeing where this protocol is not being observed by the current government. And we intend to raise it in Parliament, but we're also raising it now in public because it is really unlawful and unfair to those members of Parliament and also the electorate who would have participated and elected them to be their duly elected representative.
Carla Ramdeen, CVM News.
Jamaicans could start benefiting from the government's $10 billion Reconstruction grant as early as this month. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, who made the announcement, says the program, which will see money distributed to households damaged by Melissa, will be officially launched next week. Here's Amoy Harriet with more.
Material no come in yet. You see me, money for the material and zinc nail can't get at the hardware.
Rebuilding after Melissa has been an uphill climb for Jamaicans like Mr. Dawes, mounting needs with very limited resources, and his struggle mirrors that of roughly 90,000 other homes left dealing with storm damage. It's for situations like these that the government has announced a $10 billion allocation for reconstruction grants, which will be distributed to households damaged by Melissa. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says following a meeting with officials from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, the Office of the Cabinet, and the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management (ODPEM), plans are now fast-tracked to determine the framework under which the funds will be dispersed.
The meeting that we just concluded determined the various operational procedures that will guide how the program works. The public should know that it is quite a complicated undertaking to ensure that all the different nuances and the different circumstances are captured so that we are in keeping with the laws that govern us even in an emergency, that we can ensure for the public that there is strong accountability.
The program will be launched on January 15 and payments to begin by the end of January.
We expect that these payments will take the form of using digital modalities or going through persons' bank accounts or debit cards, whatever is convenient.
But the Prime Minister cautions the funds may not be enough to meet every need.
These grants will not be able to totally restore. For some, yes, but for others, it will be a partial assistance. And we encourage persons to continue to use their own means as much as they can. And we will definitely come in and support.
Dr. Holness also has this appeal.
I would also want to use this opportunity to say to those persons who will benefit from the grant that they should use the grant for the purpose for which it is awarded, and that is to restore their dwellings. Yes, I know that there are many other needs that would be required for the rehabilitation of your household, but the primary purpose for the grant is to restore your dwelling.
Amoy Harriet for CVM News.
Please stay with us. CVM News at 7 will continue in just a moment.
This season is the time. Digital is gifting smile. Gift a smile. Gift a smile. Gift a smile. Digicel is gifting smiles this season. 64 lucky customers will win $250,000 cash, and the third two getting $50,000 in groceries. You can also win Samsung tablets, furniture vouchers, and so much more. Best part, you can keep your prize or you give all our partners to someone who really needs a smile. This season isn't just about winning, it's about making sure everybody good. Cash Digital in your community, bringing gifts and good cheer to keep you smiling into the new year.
You know, some days are harder than others, but we have to do our part. You like porridge? We're in this together.
Morning, nurse. Thank you for what you do every day.
Come in, nurse. Or born of fear.
In this together.
This is CVM News at 7. Welcome back. A woman is dead and several other people were left injured following a motor vehicle collision Thursday at the intersection of Passage Ford Drive and the Gregory Park Main Road in Portmore, St. Catherine. The 28-year-old victim was a passenger who was visiting the island from the United States. It's understood a Nissan AD wagon and a Honda Stream collided after a driver broke the red light. Now, that fatal crash moved to 5, the number of people killed in road crashes so far in 2026, 4 fewer than the 9 reported deaths at the same time in 2025. Dr. Lucian Jones is Deputy Chairman of the National Road Safety Council.
One of the many things which we need to do as a country, in addition to ensuring that drivers use the roads at safe speeds, which might have been a factor in the crash yesterday, is to ensure also that we have safe roads to drive on. Many persons have complained about the potholes, which makes for very unsafe driving, and the police have long clamored for improved road markings.
The opposition is calling on the government to account for billions of dollars spent on road rehabilitation programs. Spokesman on Works Richard Azan says despite repeated announcements, road conditions across the island continue to deteriorate with more broken and unsafe roadways. Carla Ramdeen reports.
Opposition spokesman on Road and Works Richard Azan is calling for greater transparency in how road rehabilitation funds are allocated and spent. Mr. Azan says the government must provide a clear accounting of spending and project outcomes.
I think they need to come straight to the people of Jamaica and to the opposition that we know exactly what they are doing, because what we are hearing is more of an announcement more than to see anything happening on the ground. Because you cannot say to the member of parliament that we are going to do a program or we are doing a program, but in the constituency, there's nothing happening. There is nobody speaking to the members of parliament.
Mr. Azan argues that the poor state of the road network is contributing to vehicle damage, higher transportation costs, and growing public frustration. He pointed to recent reports of taxi operators protesting in Bath St. Thomas and said residents in St. Mary and East Portland have raised similar concerns.
All we are hearing is more announcement, but nothing on the ground that is happening. And therefore we are hearing about REACH and about how many millions spent last year from REACH in the Spark program. We are not saying that it is not going, but it's just limping on. And those are community rules that they have selected and so forth. But now we are hearing about GO, the Prime Minister announced that in December that they would be doing any patching. Members of Parliament are complaining that no contact had been made to them to say exactly how this program will go.
Mr. Azan adds that since the passage of Hurricane Melissa, there has been more clearing of the roads instead of fixing. He notes that the responsibility of the current state of the road network rests with the government and is urging officials to make move beyond announcements.
Well, I don't know if it is just a more of a PR that you announce that you're spending billions in reach and what you would see on the ground, but it is not there. And therefore, we don't have that hope to say the goal will any different. From our side, we are asking for the government to have more consultation with the opposition. That both sides would know exactly what is happening, that we don't end up only hearing announcement and don't see anything happening on the ground.
Carla Ramdeen, CVM News.
We all should demand scrutiny is a call from advocacy group Jamaicans for Justice, reacting to the 17 police fatal shootings recorded since the start of 2026. The latest, a farmer from St. Catherine. Akeem Orit has the details.
Advocacy group Jamaicans for Justice says the number of police fatal shootings recorded since 2026 is deeply alarming, renewing concerns about the use of lethal force by members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Figures show that in 2025, Jamaica recorded 311 police fatal shootings, representing a 65% increase when compared to the 189 recorded in 2024. Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, Michael Jackson, says with 17 fatal shootings already recorded within the first 8 days of the year, the trend points to what she describes as a troubling and persistent pattern in policing.
When you look at the planned operations contributing to some 50% of these fatalities, you have to raise an eyebrow. When you look at the fact there is no body-worn cameras either being worn or activated, you have to raise an eyebrows. When you look at allegations from the spouses, the girlfriends of men who have been killed, that they were asked to remove themselves a few minutes from the room and then shortly after gunfire was heard, you have to raise an eyebrow. You also have to raise an eyebrow when you look at circumstances like Jamar Farkinson and Romario Sterling, where CCTV footage suggested that these men were complying with police orders, hands in the air, and then shortly after they were killed.
Ms. Jackson notes that while the Independent Commission of Investigation INDECOM exists to hold members of the security forces accountable, the commission continues to face serious challenges, particularly with limited resources.
So for INDECOM to advance its investigations a bit quicker and for matters to proceed on the strength of evidence, you need the body cameras, and the government need to invest much more in CCTV cameras across the island. So we're just calling for that to be done, with the police commissioner giving us an update, because he made a statement on September 29 on a radar program that the body cameras are nearing completion and they should be in the island within 4 weeks. And he said he was being conservative. September 29, 4 weeks have passed from October ending. We're now January 9 in 2026. I think the JCF owes us an explanation on where we are.
While acknowledging the work of the JCF's Community Safety and Security Branch in strengthening police-community relations, Jamaicans for Justice insists that additional measures must be urgently implemented to reduce fatal encounters and rebuild public trust.
Ensure that your warrants can withstand scrutiny. They're properly signed. They are authorized within current legislation, and we are to look a little bit more on how planned operations are utilized, and the officers that are leading those planned operations ought to be senior officers, and we need to ensure that the senior officers who are deployed to planned operations do not have any human rights stain to his or her history.
JFJ is again calling for greater transparency, stronger accountability mechanisms, and a sustained investment in non-lethal policing strategies. Reporting for CVM News, I'm Akeem Orit.
A response now from the Falmouth Hospital following a CVM News report this week in which sources shared a video recorded at the facility displaying flooded wards allegedly during recent heavy rains. Well, the Parish Health Services manager, in clarifying, told CVM News the footage is misleading and captured events at the hospital during Hurricane Melissa. Nika Lewis reports.
To protect our sources, Sections of the video obtained were redacted. However, the personnel in a voice-over shared these are footage of recent rainfall rushing downstairs allegedly from a damaged section of a ward still being used by staff and patients at the Falmouth Hospital. Parish Manager of Health Services Carisha Bell Cummings told CVM News Wednesday the videos captured operations during the hurricane last year.
What has been shown in those videos are a result of what would have transpired during Hurricane Melissa. Since then, we have looked to mobilize a contractor who is actually on site, carrying out the necessary repairs as we seek to rebuild and recover from that Category 5 hurricane.
She went further to explain that temporary measures have been in place to ensure staff and patient are not impacted by the damaged structure.
For some of the spaces where we would have had persons in those spaces, what we did, we demobilized the area. We transferred the patients to different spaces, or we would have also put in temporary solutions while we await the more resilient or permanent solutions. So at no point in time do we have patients nor staff in any of these spaces without a roof or being flooded.
Mrs. Bell Cummings says the hospital has been focused on recovery and repairs even while supporting staff and saluting their efforts since the disaster.
We have provided breakfast program for them, psychosocial relief to them. We are also in the process of creating a health fair which is scheduled for Friday at the Montego Bay Convention Center, where we will have different agencies coming out to provide support to those who are in need, those persons who would have lost their important documents, persons who need support from the social agencies.
Despite what the parish manager calls challenges, she maintains healthcare continues at the Falmouth Hospital.
The operating theatres have not been flooded. We do have some challenges that we are seeking to address as we speak. In order to carry out some of these repairs, we have to ensure that the areas are dry. And so we would have been experiencing some significant rainfall even over the weekend. But we are aware of the situation and we are working assiduously to address these concerns in the shortest possible time.
Nika Lewis ending that report. Now, Friday just happens to be one of the days when a cup of soup is a welcome break from a regular meal, or it goes down well before a weekend treat. Well, traditional flavors can confirm stopping on the way home at designated spots is a habit many people have picked up.
Based on the steam coming from this spot, you can tell what's inside is very hot. Not necessarily Scotch bonnet pepper hot, although that's an ingredient even when in short supply. Now, next to a hot beverage in the morning, Jamaicans tend to love soup. In fact, some people will have it every day. Dion's Pub offers a blend of favorites for those roadside stop travels through Clarendon. She has done a good job at keeping her customers on or off the route.
I'm Jonathan Logan. Logan's Equipment and Ricken. I just stopped to look for my friend. It's long time I don't see her. Dion's Pub. In Scotch Pass. Yeah.
So why is it I haven't seen her in a long time?
No, just not really at all, you know. It's just, I mean, anyway,
Right, tell me, has the fact that they're now charging, has it affected you?
I mean, not really, you know. But I just diverted to see my friend. You know?
So you're one of the loyal customers.
Yeah, I just diverted to see my friend. Because I had the money to take the toll. I had the money to take the toll and I just diverted to see my friend. You know?
Dion Morant ensures her daily pot of soup is kept at the right temperature, ready to be served.
There you go, Danny. I'm going to press yourself and show off. Get a spoon. Nanny burn you. Alright.
At the same time, When a real soup lover pours over other traditional flavors, Dion prays what happens here will make others come here.
Jonathan came and says, Dion, I prefer to spend the whole money with you and have a drink.
And then you were actually hoping that things like this would happen. How has it been going for you?
So far, so good. I'm seeing vehicles because we needed to see them. The road was empty, so empty we could play cricket in it, as I mentioned in the previous interview. So yes, I'm seeing it. Now I need to see more customers, but I'm still praying, still praying.
And we'll be right back.
See value menu as you're thinking chicken. Get the chicken box combo for just $680. KFC.
The Time by KFC is
Chicken, mega deal, super chicken, mega deal. The KFC value menu as you're thinking chicken. Get the chicken box combo for just $680. KFC.
This season is the time. Digital is gifting smile. Gift a smile. Gift a smile. Gift a smile. Digicel is gifting smiles this season. 64 lucky customers will win $250,000 cash, and the third two getting $50,000 in groceries. You can also win Samsung tablets, furniture vouchers, and so much more. Best part, you can keep your prize or re-gift all our partners to someone who really needs a smile. This season isn't just about winning, it's about making sure everybody good. Cash Digital in your community, bringing gifts and good cheer to keep you smiling into the new year.
Chicken, mega deal, super chicken, mega deal. The KFC value menu as you're thinking chicken. Get the chicken box combo for just $680. KFC.
No frills, just great prices at Courts. We don't just talk about it, we got it. Get the best in quality and prices on appliances, electronics, furniture, and much more. That's not all. Get up to 40% off select items. Shop today, pay later with Courts Ready Finance. It's no frills, just great prices. Only at Courts. Bringing value home. Conditions apply. Offers end January 31st, 2026.
We're glad you stayed with us. Time now for the business report with Joel Crosskill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today, as we learn about the power of a humble savory pastry to expand the reach of brand Jamaica, with Golden Crust, whose introduction of Jamaican Patty Day in North America last year celebrated 10 years and introduced countless new palates to the flavors of the island. Stephen Clark, Vice President of Marketing at Golden Crust, who originated the concept, explains how the appetite for what could be argued as Jamaica's true national dish has evolved over time.
That was my little baby back in 2015, celebrated on the first Saturday in August annually. The Savor the Flavor of Jamaica is the tagline we've been running with. Before that it was Taste the Rhythm of the Islands. And I wanted to make sure that Jamaica was more direct. And I've never had this discussion with the team actually. But the islands is broad. There's a lot of islands. But we are Jamaica. And Jamaica is special. I think Jamaica is the most enchanting culture in the world. If you haven't been to Jamaica, you want to go. And if you've been to Jamaica, you love it. So I think being the best Jamaican is what has gotten us this far. From 1381 East Gun Hill Road in the Bronx. Of course, our core customers are Caribbean, but they evangelize the product because we're such a prideful set of folks here in Jamaica. As much as we are core Caribbean to the brand, we are also the first trial for Jamaican food for hundreds of thousands, if not more people in the United States. And I want to keep growing that figure.
Just over 3 months ago, The Golden Cross team opened its first high-traffic franchise at the JFK International Airport, and according to Jacqueline Hawthorne Robinson, chairman and CEO of Golden Cross, the sky's the limit for the brand's expansion in North America.
Our new vision right now is 50 more stores within the next 5 years.
Though the Golden Cross CEO says it's unlikely that you'll see a restaurant outside of Jamaica in that time, products in the retail space may become a possibility, according to Stephen Clark.
We just recently did repackaging for our 2-pack items, and we have flavors of SKUs that we're expanding into. While a tangible brick and mortar might not be in the immediate, I think it is highly possible for us to get our products down here in pallets to enter the grocery space. I think retail could be an opportunity for us. So I'm actually going to say thank you for raising that up, because that's something that is a little bit more feasible in the immediate, and or the baked goods, because frozen is tough to handle, especially when it comes to shipping frozen. It gets very costly at that point. But our hard dough breads, which my grandparents have been baking since 1949 in the hills of Border, are still immaculate.
It's a recipe that's been handed down since 1949 and tells the story of what Jamaican entrepreneurial gumption can achieve.
I remember having to go to the river because, of course, at that time you didn't have water. So we had to go to the river and catch a bucket of water before going to school every morning. A memory that is deeply embedded in me. And being raised in that environment and then leaving Jamaica and going into the US with that regiment, like this is how we were raised, this is how we were taught. So we continued that into different jobs. And then of course the time came when we realized that, hey, we don't need to be working for anybody. We need to reinvent the Golden Crest wheel or the Hawthorne's Bakery and Sons wheel and begin to produce our own products.
And that's when what was once Hawthorne and Sons was reborn as something else.
We had a friend of a friend. I remember Mr. Boswell Roden had a friend that gave us that name. We had several. We had a few others like Caribbean Delight. Then I think somebody else had that name. We had a couple more that we were grappling with. But for some reason, Golden Crust stood out to us at the time. And I remember in that meeting on 233rd Street on White Plains Road, we all agreed by raising of hands, that was the perfect name for us. So we settled with that. We're happy that we did.
The patty is what has taken us here, right? So when we printed the microfiber cloth, which was a part of the gift set, we said power of the patty, because this little patty is what took us from Border to Gunny Road in the Bronx to 8 states with 100 locations.
And that was your business report. I'm Joel Crossgill.
We now go to regional and international news.
Welcome to regional and international news. I'm Akeem Art. We begin with the news in the region. U.S. forces have seized the 5th Venezuelan-linked oil tanker, the Alina, in the Caribbean Sea as part of an intensifying campaign to choke off embargoed crude exports, with Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem calling it another ghost fleet ship that tried to flee U.S. forces after departing Venezuela. More from the BBC.
This is now the 5th operation